Hi, and welcome to another podcast, chatter about the chatter, the conversations that we have with ourselves and how they can mess with our mental health, our emotional health, and the conversations and the fights that we have. Some people call them demons. I like to call it the monkey mind, as once I understood the monkey mind and understood those conversations that we have with ourselves, I started understanding myself. So I'm the host of this one, Cuddy Cudworth, the UK's leading mind management coach. If it's in the mind, it can be managed. I'm always very passionate about that. I'm working with people at the moment who've gone through trauma, grief, overcoming their past lives, creating their future selves. That's what priority mind management is all about. But today's guest in Chatter About the Chatter is Scott Gordon Mcintyre, all the way from Dundee. Now, we had a fascinating conversation at a networking meeting we were at. Wasn't that right, Scott?
Yeah, Dundee.
Perfect. It was a lovely chat. I really enjoyed that night. It was really nice to see everybody coming together. But I thought your cause and what you were talking about was fascinating, and I feel like we need to get this in front of as many people as possible, especially seeing as you've come from the rugby world.
Mm-hmm.
And in
Yep.
the rugby world, I'm sure there's a big, massive kind of ethos of big manly men not wanting to talk
Yep.
about things. And I know that's a broad statement, Scott. I know this because I know there's a lot of ex-rugby players that talk about mental health and like that. But you have a great cause and something you're quite passionate about, which is Team Adam 15. Scott, introduce yourself to all our listeners. Who are you and where you're from and what do you do?
Hi. So my name's Scott Mcintyre. I'm from Dundee. Um, I've basically this has become part of my life now, and it's become like a cause that I've been kind of trying to get to grips with, and so this is basically how I focus my time, and basically our kind of goal is to um get the subject of mental health into rugby clubs
Mm-hmm.
and talk about the issue of mental health, and not only that, but give people an outlet as well, um, to give guys that maybe have kind of lost their way and have went out the game and but want to kind of keep that social side. So we've been trying to find ways in which to keep people in the game, integrate them, keep the socials aspect there, um, and to enhance their mental health and support local charities in the area like Andy's Man Club, Samaritans, and
Yeah.
all these type of charities.
Yeah.
Just to sort of raise awareness of the subject of mental health. Obviously, the subjects that dear to our heart. The whole kind of reason um, uh, Team Adams started was because we lost a friend,
Yeah.
and it was that kind of grief which led us to us setting up a team for to honour our friend Adam Grassi and to raise a bit of money for charity and awareness as well.
Thank you for sharing that, Scott. It's still clearly very raw, and I know we talked about some of your friends still, trying to get round to the grips of that. How long has Team Adam 15 been going? How long ago did it start, Scott?
Well, it started in October 2019, um, and we lost our friend Adam on 2016, um, which was, I mean, for everyone, it was quite traumatic
Absolutely.
experience, and but from that sort of trauma and that reminiscing about our our rugby days, we start the conversation started about talking about rugby again and the times we had, the enjoyment we had, and mostly about the camaraderie from us, like being part of that team and all the kind of fun things times we had. Um, you know, obviously there's stuff about we talked about our memories of Adam and all that sort of stuff. But it came back to let's get our boots on. And during that period, like a lot of people went back to rugby clubs. Some went for a few sessions and then stopped, and then just played different forms of started playing touch and all that touch rugby, which is a non-contact version of the sport. And it was starting to it was starting to kind of dissipate. But I was at the rugby. I was at Panmure Rugby Club, and I was there getting involved with their rugby club. And then all of a sudden, an opportunity came where we could get a game organised. When we had people who weren't, there was a lot of guys that weren't in the Panmure setup that weren't getting games, and we had a influx of players. So I found a brilliant opportunity to kind of honour our friend and raise a bit of money for charity. And that's all originally what it was going to be. So yeah, the first game we had was October 2019. We raised about £856 for Samaritans, and we really started. The conversation started to kind of grow from there. There was people having. I was amazed at the conversations we were having in this rugby in the rugby club after the game, and the discussions about people like guys coming to me and saying, "Look, I lost one of my relatives from suicide," and it's something that the talk about how we need to as guys we need to talk about these issues more. And it just sort of I had a feeling then that there was something happening from those discussions at the game, but it was only until I started putting a Facebook page up and putting the pictures from the game where I got bigger engagement from the community at large. We got messages from journalists, we got messages from other teams wanting to play us, and just all sorts of people reaching out to us asking wanting to help us and asking where we can help them, and all all of a sudden it's just snowballed into this. It's become a movement and a and a kind of
it has, absolutely has.
And and a community group that's just, and we're now part of the fabric of the rugby community, and people are starting to take notice of us now, which is great.
Absolutely. How does that make you feel, Scott?
It makes me feel quite proud in what we've been able to do in such a short time, and it's people it's amazing that we've been people are still reaching out to us and still pushing us forward. It's like and giving us like support, like how they can help us and how we can help them, and how we can continue the conversation around mental health and sort of make sure that we don't lose another one of our teammates, and to something that could be avoidable, and something that could have been dealt with with a 5-minute conversation or a um, a 5-minute conversation, or just a feeling of support within your community. So yeah, so
Well done, Scott. Well done.
mhm,
I can see how that was a very passionate conversation that we just had there. Thank you very
mhm,
much, Scott. That was lovely. So you are based all the way up in Dundee,
mhm.
and where else have you been playing with the rugby team? Because are you getting invited around other parts of the UK and things like that?
Well, we had we got like a tournament. We were in Perth and we played an oldies tournament, which was a mixture of Panmure guys and the Team Adam guys that
Yeah,
have been that are that from the last two games we had. So we played in a tournament in Perth. We played with some Arbroath guys and with the Team Adam strips and the Lockside seven, Lockside, yeah, Lockside, Lockside 10. Sorry, I was
yeah,
going to say sevens, but it was Lockside 10. But yeah, the issue that we've got is that we've got guys from all over the the map now. There's guys down south. Um, there's guys in other parts of Scotland as well, and it's hard to get guys there. But once we get once we get guys there and playing, it's brilliant. It feels like when we were 17 again, and we were playing.
yeah,
Obviously, the body isn't
yeah.
isn't quite there, and the fitness level is the well to be desired. Like I mean, um, yeah, but we're kind of we're trying to expand it. We're trying to get more players in the conversation that wouldn't normally not normally be thinking about rugby or anything like that. We've sort of there's we've been able to get guys that have never played rugby before in their life,
Yeah,
even to come down on Monday nights to play a game of touch and touch rugby. We're not we're not teaching them much of anything. It's it's just basically a bunch of guys um go to go to Fort Hill when we put the floodlights on, and we um split up into teams and we chuck a ball about for an hour. And
yeah,
but there's been people that have come from that and have went, oh, I never thought I'd play rugby, and then go, oh, I'll go to the team that's my
yeah.
local team that's playing here. So it's been this kind of it's 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 maybe not our initial goal, because our initial goal was to get guys that we know coming to play and building our network, well, reconnecting with old friends and stuff like that. But it's become more. It's become a meeting place for adults, a father son thing as well, because we've got all sorts of ages playing a game we touched on Monday, and that's that in turn has helped the youth setup as well
Yeah.
in Palmyra. So it's all good things. It's all getting people into the sport, giving people an outlet, giving some place for people to go on a Monday night to kind of just be around people, have a laugh, and just socialize and you know help their mental health and be part of what we're about, sort of thing.
Scott, you're very clearly passionate about what you do. By the way, it comes out of every pore when you talk. It's fascinating to see. So when you've got so what kind of mental health support do when they come to the games? Is it just giving the guys the space to be able to talk about things, to be able to talk in a safe space without judgment?
Well, basically, what we're trying to do is we've got a long way to go to kind of like get to a point where we're sitting in a room talking about these issues. But we what we are doing is making it less taboo to talk about it, because we're doing things like talks and fundraisers and all sorts of things, and we're now starting to look into the training side of things and how we could be that to influence the clubs in that way and be a presence that way. We've been speaking to a mental health organization called Better Gen, who offer mental health training to people in social care and all sorts of places. Um, we've just started recently trying to build up a partnership with them so that we could put out a pack of a mental health pack for the rugby clubs
Yeah,
that is more tailored towards them, to the sport, than just a generic mental health type of course type of thing. So yeah, it's our main goal is to get. We want people to talk about mental health more, and we want to break the stigma.
yeah,
But it's as we're just normal guys. We're just trying to facilitate what this is, and a kind of whatever it is, kind of move it in the right direction and build it.
yeah.
So I mean, we're still learning. We're still figuring out things. There's still times when I have to kind of reevaluate what my own kind of like how would I describe it, programming sort of thing.
No, programming's the perfect way to explain it. Yes.
like it's you know that from I'm I've I'm three brothers, male dominated kind of environment, and going into rugby because male dominated environments, and you sometimes you kind of have to like step back and reevaluate like some of the things that you thought were okay but now aren't. Like if someone has like if someone like for example, one guy was having a bad day and he had an outburst in the training, and like the kind of programming, the wiring, you go like you go like, why is he doing that? And then you have to reevaluate yourself. Like maybe he needs help. Maybe he needs someone like me to talk to him and see what his issues are, because it might. I mean, it's it could he could be something in his home life that's troubling him. There could be something. It just could have just been a bad day at work, and he's just let loose on someone. Um, but before I would kind of dismiss it and like go, why is he acting like that sort of thing. But ever since I've been kind of put into this environment in this world and thinking about mental health on a kind of more practical level, it's kind of made me reevaluate my kind of attitudes as well. So yeah. So yeah. That's. I mean, yeah. We're trying to learn, and we're trying to.
Absolutely.
We're on a journey. We're probably going to make mistakes along the way, and there's it's a male dominated sport. You're going to have things issues with it and attitudes there that are going to be, especially rugby. There's some, whoever you talk to, there's some archaic kind of attitudes in rugby, like and because it's been passed down for the old boys to the young guys, and it's sometimes you just got to kind of reevaluate reevaluate yourself, and then re reevaluate reevaluate your surroundings, and kind of see what you could do to change
Yeah.
what's going on in your surroundings.
Absolutely fantastic, Scott. You're very passionate about this, we can tell.
Hmm.
Absolutely, and especially in the world of rugby, which there is the very masculine identity in rugby as well.
Hmm.
Big fellas,
Hmm.
and I think the area that you are, Scott, it's nice to have such a compassionate person such as yourself wanting to help others from a place
Hmm.
of understanding, which I think is very, very, very important for a lot of people. About giving and creating those spaces for people to be able to talk without being judged, without being laughed at, and knowing that there's opportunities and always solutions for some of the problems that we think we can't get out of.
Hmm.
And for
Yeah.
you to be able to say that you're offering a space for gentlemen from the rugby world to be able to talk, it actually sounds very familiar to the Blue Balls in Edinburgh, the dipping group, the men's dipping group. Mark Miller's created a dipping group down there for men to be able to openly go in and talk about things. And I know he's worked his way into, I think, the Hearts Foundation as well.
Yeah.
So it's such a great place to see all these spaces for men to be able to come and talk and be able to acknowledge some of the things that they've gone through and not feel shameful about those thoughts and those conversations and the traumas that we've had in the past. So it's
Hmm.
nice that there's these spaces opening up for men to be able to talk about these things, Scott. So
Hmm.
well done for you, mate. Well done.
Hmm. Yeah.
Because
Thank you. Yeah.
no, not a problem at all. It was when we talked at the networking group, I was like, we have to do a podcast about this. Just try and get that message out there as best as possible.
Hmm.
That there is space. Not everybody always needs to have counselling or therapy, but just sometimes having that space of understanding can be enough sometimes. And if people want to move forward and get coaching or therapy or counselling, whatever they seem fit for themselves, it's an important message to be spreading, Scott. So well done.
Hmm.
Is there anything else you want to share with our lovely listeners about Team Adam 15, which is based in Dundee? I just want to repeat that again.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to share about what you do up there?
Um. Yeah. I mean, we could just, if anyone wants to kind of come along, on the Monday nights, just we've got the Team Adam Facebook page. If you want to
Yep,
message us there,
absolutely.
um, we've got. I think we're on TikTok as well. We're on Instagram as well. So, if you want to kind of meet up and want to organize something with us, or even get set up some sort of partnership, we're more than welcome to listen to you, and get involved with what you want to do. So yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, Scott. Thank you very much for sharing.
Mhm. No, that, no worries. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Not a problem at all, Scott. Stay exactly there for just a few more minutes. Well, look, thank you very much to listening to another episode of Chatter About the Chatter. Look, I'm going to finish off for any guys or any ladies that are listening to this. Look, we have these conversations and they create a false story and a false identity sometimes. And I've had it my past in myself. That's where monkey mind relaxation comes from, Scott, is the conversations that we have with ourselves. They still pop up sometimes. Your monkey mind's very sneaky and it's gonna, don't forget this happened last time. And we start creating these stories that we start believing because we're like, oh, well, I've heard them. It must be real. But thoughts are not always facts. And I always hashtag that quite a lot. Thoughts are not facts. And men, there's plenty of avenues for us to be able to talk about, to be able to get those conversations out. There is no, even though we can feel shame and we can feel embarrassment about being able to talk about these things, once we get it off our chest, sometimes it is just about talking. And I know there's Adam's Man's Club out there. I know there's Team Adam 15, the Edinburgh Blue Balls as well. There is some great places, and that's just to name a few. That's just off the top of my head. We know we've got the Samaritans out there. And it's funny you should say the Samaritans, Scott, because I remember when I was going through my hard times and I went to the doctor and said, look, what's going on? I've got these conversations and I feel like really mulchy. I've just got no idea. And I was like, oh, it's all right, I'll give you the phone number for the Samaritans. And I'm like, do you know what? I actually have never had suicidal thoughts to the extent of where I was going to take action on it, but I had, it wasn't the same. It was different. I didn't realize I was depressed at the time. Then I understood that's what depression was. But it's not always about having suicidal thoughts. Everyone thinks that's where you have to go. It's serious. You know, when we create those spaces and those conversations, that there's going to be some days where those conversations are a little bit louder and they pass like the weather. I hate to use analogies, but they do pass like the weather. There is still some days you're going to feel great, and some days we can find ourselves in that little bit of a depressed state. You know, depression as such is still has a dirty stigma, but you know, it's an emotion. And a lot of people don't realize this, Scott, that depression is an emotion caused by thought. And if you change the way you think, you can change your emotional state. Not always that easy. I don't sit on a pedestal of just do this, do this. No, there's so many different layers of trauma that people have, the conversations that they have, and they need to be given space. And it sounds that's what you're doing up in Dundee, Scott.
Yeah.
So absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much. We hope you've enjoyed this podcast, and there's going to be plenty more coming for chatter about the chatter. I've been your host, Cuddy Cudworth, with today's guest, Scott Gordon Mcintyre from Team Adam 15, doing an excellent job, and we'll see you on the next podcast.